219 received. 4223. 4223. Good signals. 26 north. Inbound on the inbound rail through single track. Call me when you clear it. Fine.
It's a gold catalog.
Now 26 north, inbound rail, single track. I'll call you when I'm clarifying. Thank you.
Okay.
4249. 4249 on good signals and switches. Washington Junction, 14 north. Inbound on the inbound rail through single track. Call me when you clear it. Cassie Shannon.
The signals Washington Junction 14 north inbound on the inbound rail. I'll call you when I clear it. Captain Shannon. Thank you.
Received. Thank you.
The double door here is known as the Operations Command Center, or OCC. It's broken down into two subgroups: bus traffic operations, or BTO, rail traffic operations, or RTO. Pretty much the responsibilities are the same. Obviously, there's a little more hardware and infrastructure that the rail group has to deal with, but not that much more, because we're a fairly balanced system. We have 24.5 miles of light rail and 2 inclines. As far as busways and HOV lanes, we have 22.5 miles of that. So this group, in addition to the busways, deals with everything that's on local streets in Allegheny County and 2 adjoining counties, Westmoreland and Beaver. They are one of 3 response units, first response units, one being Path Police, the other being Road Operations, Rail Operations, and then my group, Special Services, Events, and Detours. On a good day, on a quiet day, the job in here is basically to monitor the system as scheduled and keep it as scheduled as best as possible. On a bad day, it's to deal with anything that comes down the pipe. Anything ranging from a bus failure of any sort to a police incident on the bus. They would be the first contact between the operator, and then they make the contact with the police if the police are necessary. Sometimes only a road supervisor has to go, which is also their colleagues in the truck, but oftentimes it's both the supervisor and the police. If there's a situation where a medic response is needed, again, that call is initiated here. If it's not go to 911, we have our own due process in here. If there's a fire, if there's a bomb threat, if there's immediate flooding, which we had a lot of that neighborhood, and buses are blocked, or in their case, their cars are blocked, it's their job to have the supervisor go out, their fellow supervisor, work that problem, find a solution, get the vehicles moving, make sure everybody's safe, and then, when possible, get them back on regular route and as on time as possible. 2 of my colleagues in here are Eric and Montel. We all have ID numbers for radio calls and everything. Eric is traffic 17. Montel is traffic 23. When they go out on respective jobs in the trucks, they pick up the truck numbers in their respective geographic area. Montel, I think, on weekdays is 946 out of Mifflin.
930 now, sir.
930. They changed the numbers.
Well, I'm 930.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. You're over at the junction now.
Yeah.
Okay. And Eric, are you in here exclusively?
I'm on the board.
You're on the board. So Eric's all over the place. He could be in a truck. He could be 958 one day, 946 the next, 930 the third, and then he could be in here in traffic. And when I was here years ago, I had 3 stints in road ops. One as a supervisor, and then one as an assistant manager, and then one as a manager. Same thing. And again, as I told the previous group, I worked all 5 bus divisions when they had 5, and I worked the rail system, so I was qualified on every route. I only did it because I was nuts. And then when I came in here, I kind of did the same thing. I used to pick the extra board because, for lack of a better reason, I like variety, you know. And it was also a great way to experience because you never know what you were going to get the next day until 2 o'clock that afternoon. So it was a rare time. I did pick once. I was the main console in here, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. With Monday, Tuesdays off, so I worked the weekend. And when I was in here and my counterparts back then, it was only one, which is, they made that change a number of years later, which is good because it's needed. But back then they only had one dispatcher in here. And for 8 hours a day, that was me. Back then too, and I'm pleased to say that I had a very small hand in getting this room converted. Nothing with the IT stuff, that's others. But this room had the old 40-year-old metal consoles that we brought from another building when we first initiated railroad service on the bus, radio service on the buses and streetcars in 1973. When this building opened in 1981, they brought those old metal cabinets out. All I had when I sat down was a 3-panel cabinet, a couple of computers that really didn't work, 14-inch pad that I wrote everything down on, a speaker, and a red button that said talk. And that's how I conversed with the bus operators. And of course I had my spiral-bound Rand McNally map of the city of Pittsburgh, 100 pages thick, and my magnifying glass, which we had to buy on our own. This place didn't supply it. You had to go to the local newsstand and get your own damn Rand McNally map. That's a story for another time. So, that being said, had a small hand in getting rid of the skanky 30-year-old carpet that was in here. It was actually had mold in it amongst everything else, and those old metal cabinets. Had a small hand in getting these wooden desks and the hardware and laminated flooring that brought this to some level of professionalism that it should have for those that are in here. And then all the IT stuff came quickly thereafter. So, Eric Montel, is there anything you just want to say? I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk.
Yeah, I want to come back here real quick and look at this monitors. I'll show you a couple of things that we do up here. When we're working up here, normally there's three people on the weekday, and one person has one individual channel, West Mifflin, another operator has East Liberty, and one of our supervisors they have a combination between East Liberty, Ross or Collier Division. But on the weekends, there's only two of us. One, Eric has East Liberty and Ross, and I have West Mifflin and Collier. We have the capability with our Clever Tab, we can track every bus that's out in the system, that's out there in the system. If you see how the different color markings, those are all the streets that our units go down. Some of our units use the same street. If Chuck ever posts a detour like we have today, we get the detours via email. We normally print them out. That way we can read through them without going on to the thing. Chuck, I told the last group, if you guys don't know Chuck has the uncanny ability that he can spit out a detour somewhere that he doesn't even live. Aliquippa, he'll get you out of Aliquippa with streets. I'm talking about just like this. He's not
left or right,
left, whatever it is, right? You know what I mean? You can take you to Renham and tell you somewhere, wherever it might be. I just happen to be right now tracking a 61Cs. With this screen or this side over here, I'm able to see all our units. If sometimes during rush hour, if they're all running late and they might be bunched together, I can check it out and see if they're all close together. And if you can see up here, it'll show you all the name of all the streets that the buses go on right here, the time points. Like right here, that bus is that's Murray at Bartlett. You can see this green indicates that these units are on time. This particular bus right here, we consider this a ghost bus. For some reason, he's not able to log on, but we can still track him. Like right now, I cannot see his information. Meaning, I don't see how this bus just turned yellow. Meaning somewhere he's running a little hot. He's running a little early. but it might just be a little time point that he's at. By hovering over his icon, it'll show me what his route is, what his unit number is, who the operator is, the next time point, the past time point they just came from. If I wanted to find out who was driving this ghost bus, there's another screen over here we use called another program we call Hastis. It has all the operators' information, their names, their payroll, their unit.
4166 to traffic.
Now she's having an issue with a low coolant bus. She's calling me right now. When someone is calling me, I just click onto her last unit. Go ahead. She called me a little minute.
My bus is still going off and on with the low coolant light. It's off right now, so it's going to be comes back on.
All right, I will see that. Go ahead and continue on. I'll have you seen en route somewhere. If it goes down, give me a call back. Now this particular bus, I said this ghost bus, I know it's a 61 Charlie Unit 127. So I can come over here to this screen over here and I can find out by checking out, by doing to a different program, I can find out 61 Unit 127 is being run by operator 7470. So if customer services, which is next door, if they would happen to be looking for this bus, I would in turn go to that West Mifflin channel, call that operator, and find out, where their direction location could be, where they might be, and find out why they're not logged on. But during the course of a day, these buses, there's only 3 of them out there right now. There might be 6 or 7 of them out there. And during whatever time of day it could be, they could be bunched together and running right behind one another. And the guys that's out on the road, they have the capabilities of saying, okay, if one unit is running particularly late, they might transfer all the people from one bus to another one and adjust that person's time to try to, like Chuck was saying about maintaining service. That's what we try to do. Another thing, that's when you work up here, you don't get no lunch break. So you have to constantly maintain your console. You develop a keen ear for when people call. Even if you step away from the console, or I could be talking to you and still pick up what somebody else is saying, and I know they're calling for me. So, like I said, in our Clever CAD, the system does a whole lot of things. I can isolate on one particular bus that I might want to, like for instance, that 41 Unit 66. When I clicked on this locate vehicle, it'll pull me up a vehicle, our employee or operator number. I can just click on this box and put her bus number in there, 6612, and it'll pull up her name, all her information, her bus, her name, her payroll, the run number of that unit. That's a 41 Unit 66 and it's a 41. If I click on select, highlight. See how it'll just isolate that particular bus. It'll show me where she is. There's certain things I can do. I can hover up on her, find out which street she's on. Say that unit was stuck somewhere. I have the capability of highlighting her and going up here to Street View, which is a nice little feature when you're working by yourself. It'll show me what she has. So if she was right there, I could say, you know what, might not be able to get her to go down that street. If I told her to make a right at this stop sign, it's going to take her somewhere where she can't go. You can see that road is particularly closed right here. So we can see what she can see, not in real live time, but we'll be able to.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, if we had to try to get her if she was stuck somewhere.
Wow. Very cool. That's pretty neat.
I can talk and keep on going. I don't want to hold you guys on.
Breaks up the day.
I was at the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority for like 31 years.
Is that right?
I saw a lot of this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
It's amazing how you can know how everything is at all the time.
Correct. And Chuck had mentioned that, which is I think is really cool too, is when you go to a student, when the student operators, and they look at you and say, well, how long have you been in this particular job? And you tell them, and one thing I can always say is we all drove. Like Chuck said, we didn't put an application and say I want to become a road operations supervisor. You have to start from driving and work, put your time in, and you have to put in and eventually get the job. I always say there's a lot of multitasking doing this job. You have to learn how to be able to radio, the phone, And there's all these numbers we have to call. There's so much that goes on during the course of the day and the time that you can
And tourists.
change. Yeah, which is easy for me. What I mean? I don't mind. Actually, I love when people come through and see what we do.
This is pretty cool.
I love to show our department off.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Yeah.
Just community center overall. My colleagues in here, Jim Walsh, who's on our console, and Joe Nist. And I did lie earlier when I said I might have been the last PCC streetcar operator. I just found out that Jim Walsh was also qualified on PCC cars. So, nice to know I'm not the only one left here with that qualification. So anyway, this is rail traffic operations. What you see here on the right, these 6 square rectangles here is the yard. The rest of it is the main line, Mount Lebanon Beach View, library line, the remnants of the Drake. That's that little stub on panel 7 you see there. The Allentown line, all the way over to Penn Park and all the way over to Allentown Station. The whole system is on here. It basically tracks all the rail car movements, which are that little white rectangles you see. When they're out of the system, they get a little pointed arrow on the front. There are areas that have never been modified, like the library line, which, while it's fully signalized, it still uses the old interurban signals. So when the car leaves Washington Junction, heading out the library, the arrow stops. And it doesn't show anything until the car comes all the way back on the inbound of Washington Junction. And then it flips to the other track in the other direction. So the car is out there. You just don't know where. Now with clever device and the GPS system, bus got it first, but rail now has it. So until this system is upgraded, they can track the cars, especially in what we call dark territory, which is the street running on Broadway Avenue Beachview, and then the Allentown line when we detour over that railroad. This room was built in the early 2000s. It used to be upstairs when this place opened in '81. This was opened up in the early 2000s with the onset of the Overbrook rehabilitation. It is somewhat dated. You can tell that by the screens. Most of the screens in the back are simply grand old versions of like Kodak Chrome slide projectors with a big honk of theater bulb in it.
Wow.
And it provides it for protection. You can't buy those anymore. So that when one of those burns out, we literally go on Amazon to find a replacement. Or eBay, And a great example, this is a brand new camera that was installed during our Plinth construction so that we could see the Penn Station yard, which will be in about an hour, or part of it. These are the old cameras that are covering the rail yard that were installed here when this facility first opened. And this one's on life support right now. You can see it. This is all scheduled to be replaced. I believe they have the materials and the infrastructure. We were waiting for the funding, basically, and the bid packages to come back on a successful bidder. So I believe it's supposed to be either later this year or sometime next year. Once this is all replaced, this will all be state-of-the-art again. So, this theater concept was the practice of the day back in the early 2000s. If you went to most railroad dispatch centers, this is what they had set up. Much bigger than ours, but this is pretty much what they had. The idea was keep it quiet, keep it subdued, keep the lights down, keep the nerves down. They actually did behavioral studies and found out that from the people that were in those rooms, the actual reverse was happening. So now, when those places are building new dispatch centers, they're, coded. They're layered with windows, so you can see outside. They have live plants in many of them, to freshen the air and so forth and so on, to make it a more human-oriented area. This is what we call the Star Wars technology. So, and this is not the thing in this decade now. If you go and somebody builds a new dispatch center, it'll look entirely different.
42, 49 hours.
It's funny how Star Wars stuff is now old.
I'm still somewhat pleased with this and definitely pleased with that because we have looked at other transit agencies and some of their dispatch centers. And quite frankly, some of them are just like 4 to like 10 flat screens on what I call a bingo table.
You're gonna get a Reddit.
You know, just a flat table with folding legs that you can see at the local social hall when, you know, you go play bingo or, you know, whatever. And that's all they have. So these two, you know, they may be a little dated, but and subject for rehab, but they're still pretty good. They're most definitely functional. They get the job done. There's one route foreman who's long gone. He's retired. When he used to come in here and he'd hear it this quiet, he'd walk around and he goes, "I like this. We're making money." You don't want to be in here when all hell breaks loose. So.